Hey, I'm here with my beloved sister, Leanna, to talk about your message, You Are Enough. How are you feeling today, Leanna?
Hey, I am feeling really good. It's a good day. Busy, but good. Thanks.
what what's motivating you to be on this call right now, Lee?
Um, just kind of feeling as just have watched some transformation happen for myself, and I've watched it happen for some of my friends in all different ways, and just kind of feeling like it's my turn to share what I've been through, what I've learned, what I'm learning, and kind of where I'm going from here.
Yeah. So you've mentioned to me that you are enough um, is a message and a proclamation that you feel called to share with the world. And before we get into that, my guess is that that's come through maybe as a result of having experiences where maybe you felt like you weren't enough. And then it sounds like You Are Enough is something that you kind of discovered uh, along the way. Can you can you tell me a little bit more about maybe some of the pain or some of the hurt of feeling like you're not enough that may have been kind of the soil of this message that this message grew out of?
Yeah, I think looking back, some of my earliest memories, maybe of feeling inadequate, feeling like I wasn't good enough, happened right around the age of 12, which is kind of puberty age, which I think is a hard time it was a hard time for me, and I know it's a hard time for other kids as well that are kind of in that time frame. Um, I just felt often that I wasn't good enough. I compared myself to others, was really hard on myself. I always felt I had to be better, I had to do more. And over the course of the last 20 plus years, that's really affected who I am. It's affected my happiness level, it's affected my relationships with people, my relationship with God. It's affected just so many things, and it's really been the last couple years that I've been able to kind of put everything together and realize that I am enough every day.
I want to ask you a couple more questions about what you just shared.
Okay.
Um, you mentioned that earlier on, one of the things that you might have done, compare yourself to others and feel not enough. Can you recall a couple of the like particular ways in which you might have like felt bad about yourself or compared yourself to other people when you were early in your early teens?
Maybe some of it had to do with academics, feeling like I needed to be smarter or get better grades, even though I did really well. I always feel like I had to kind of be the best at everything. And also, a lot of that was physical appearance, feeling like I wanted to be skinnier, like some of my friends, that I wasn't as pretty as them. And just a huge responsibility I felt placed on my shoulders as the oldest of four kids, and feeling like I had to kind of help take care of my brothers and my sister. And so I think those are kind of the main things I thought about.
Mm-hmm. And how did this kind of follow you in life? You know, maybe into college, 20s, mid 20s, married. Like, can you kind of just like share with us a couple? Like, if we just get going and see, like, they gave us the like, the 13-year-old snapshot of academic, and then the 16-year-old snapshot of helping to raise, little sister and brothers and sisters, and like kind of take us a little bit along the course of late teens, early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, and like what are the ways that this concept of you are not enough kind of showed up and created, struggle or suffering or challenge in your life?
Well, it's so funny because if I give you a timeline of my life, most people would look at that and be like, dude, you had everything you wanted. That really on the outside or outward expressions or outward manifestations of life, I really inward was a completely different story. So if we
Yeah.
look at the outward first, I had lots of friends, went through middle school and high school. I was involved in so many different things. I was in choir, I was in ASB, I played soccer, I played field hockey, I was in drama. I went on several school trips. I was chosen as a freshman in high school as one of like the ambassadors for the whole school and got to go to this amazing leadership conference. I was picked out of the entire freshman body for that. I went to the college I wanted because I had such good grades. I I studied English and had great friends in college. I met an amazing man, got married young, but we've both graduated college together, put him through graduate school. We have 4 amazing children. We've gotten to go on some cool trips. We really, looking back, as far as that goes, I can't complain about one single thing. And some people would look at me and say, oh, you have so many things that you should be happy about, or so many things you should be grateful for. But inside, for so long, I was suffering because I felt like I always needed to be doing something more. And I always felt like what I did wasn't good enough. And I always felt that no matter what anyone said, as far as a compliment, such as, wow, you're so amazing, or you're so beautiful, or whatever, I felt guilty forever accepting a compliment. And I felt like I had to continually beat myself up. And so that's kind of the other side. And that's kind of what we're talking about today is kind of that beating up process and how I've been able to get to where I am right now.
And so the video camera on the outside, kind of looking at your life, sees, a bunch of circumstances and experiences that a lot of people would consider ideal. That symbolic video camera on the inside is seeing some suffering and some self-deprecation kind of throughout the process. Can you tell me a little bit more about how that felt to feel as though there was always something more to do and that you never quite felt good enough as you were? Like, how did it feel?
It was, and sometimes still is. It's exhausting. That's the best word I can think of, is exhausting. And the second word would probably be little hope, so hopeless. Those are probably the two. It was exhausting, and so many days I felt hopeless, like things were never going to change for me as far as inside.
Oh, yeah. It makes you wonder how many people out there that feel like they've got a lot of good things going for them might actually really be having feelings of exhaustion and did you say hopelessness? Is that what you said the second thing was?
Hopelessness.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think? Do you think other people have similar experiences, feeling sense of exhaustion, hopelessness, despite positive exterior circumstances?
Totally, and I think I'm a huge fan of social media. I know you are too. It does a lot of good, but I think for some people, based on where they are emotionally, mentally, physically in their lives, using social media is really difficult because they kind of look at someone's Facebook life or their Instagram life or whatever and kind of see them as this happy, perfect family. And they want for themselves more than anything to just be that person that they haven't talked to since they were 10 or 16 or 20. But realizing that that's just really, and Facebook and in my mind and Instagram are more that outward expression of kind of
Mm-hmm.
not really being completely authentic with the times that are really hard or really painful as far as our internal battles and struggles, I guess.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, can you, without getting all like, like psychology and trying to be able to solve all the problems and, root everything out from, our childhood stuff, but like still open up that conversation a little bit. Um, do you have a sense of where this idea like came from? Like how it got planted into your mind and into your heart that has then repeated itself in your mind like thousands and thousands and thousands of times since then? Like,
It's a
do you
really
ever think about when when you first started thinking that, or where it initially kind of came into your space?
it's a really good question, and I have thought about it a lot. And really, what it comes down to for me personally, I think what I remember is that I felt our our home growing up was always very busy. You know, our mom worked a lot, and but always wanted to play hard. And so I kind of saw her kind of do that. And so for me, I always felt like I had to be doing something. So I never took the time to rest or relax or to have a minute where I could feel like I could just breathe or and that was okay. So that was because of my perception of kind of watching our mom have to help provide and always wanting to do things for other people. And then I feel like there was a lot of expectations placed on me, some of probably which were from myself, just that I created, and other were from my parents growing up. I remember just feeling always I had to kind of be a certain way, act a certain way, and I kind of what developed in my mind was this concept of having to be perfect, having to do my chores perfectly, having to get straight A's, having to be happy all the time. And I'm not trying to say that that's all because of other people. I am just saying that's kind of what started, that was the patterning that started happening in my brain when I was around 12.
Yeah. So you said early puberty twice and 12 and stuff. So it sounds like you kind of really feel like there was this point in time when, um, if you go back to like 9 or 10 or 8, do you remember a version of Leanna that wasn't plagued with "you are not enough"?
Yeah, I think I was a lot happier being, kids. You have so many, so many less responsibilities, I guess. And I think most children, I shouldn't say most, a lot of children in that age group that are just healthy and raised in a good home environment, their bodies are more the same. It's really when you get to that pre-adolescent stage where we kind of start separating, I guess, as far as height and weight and acne, all those things, good hair, bad hair, I don't know, things like that. So I think before you get to that point, there's a lot less things you have to worry about as far as body image and things like that, at least for me.
So I'm hearing a combination of conditions in the home, relationship with mom, relationship with dad, as well as kind of how you related to those experiences, kind of implanted and embedded what we call a meme or concept or a thought that just like lived in your space, from then until the present, which is this idea of you are not enough. And I appreciate you helping me to better understand how that lived in your experience uh, over the next 20 years and resulting in an internal feeling of exhaustion and of hopelessness. Are there any particular ways that it showed up, um, we might call like very like overt ways, or pathological ways, or ways that it you really felt like it, like if if like if the video camera on the outside in the macro sense saw a lot of really great things, and the video camera on the inside saw feelings of hopelessness and exhaustion, are there ways that hopelessness and exhaustion came out of you and manifested in your behaviors and the way that you chose to live your life?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of the scary point as I kind of say what I've been through, but I turned to food at a very early age. Like I said, it was around that probably 12 or 13. I don't remember exactly. I don't think there was like a day. I know I've always really liked food. I remember when I was little, like 5, and going to bed. I wouldn't go to bed until mom would tell me what was for breakfast the next day, which is so weird. It's not like we always had food. There wasn't like a scarcity of food. I just was always kind of driven by like what there was to eat. So I don't think it's strange that food kind of became my pattern of internal pain. But between 12 and 13, I developed a binging disorder. And I say disorder, I don't say that word lightly. I've really had to think about it, but I say it's a disorder because there was disorder in my mind and in my brain that couldn't process properly. And so I used food to kind of numb my pain. And then as I got older, I started using exercise to kind of combat some of the eating. And that kind of progressed until, in high school, I got mono, and then in college I had mono twice. I mean, I don't know if you wanted to go in my whole health history right now, but kind of this crazy erratic cycle definitely started having physical signs. I pretty much kept my weight the same because I could exercise, but my body was so imbalanced emotionally, physically, that just until a few years ago, I got really sick. So it definitely started showing in other ways. And that's kind of when I realized I had to deal with that.
Can you help me to understand and experience this even more clearly by thinking of just one example? And it can be simple, so it doesn't have to be some like grandiose situation, but just one kind of particular situation, and help to like tie together for me the thought and feeling of you are not enough, and then how that related to this like feeling. You said using food to cover up the pain, so I'm kind of guessing that like you are not enough and feelings of exhaustion, hopelessness are kind of present, and then somehow there's like reaching out for a piece of pizza, thinking that if I have this piece of pizza right now, then this feeling's going to go away. But now I'm guessing right now. So can you kind of just like take me inside of an example and help me to like connect the dots between the internal experience and like the behavior and the cycle, it like just through like the story of one kind of experience?
Yes, this is kind of hard for me. So just give me a minute.
Uh-huh.
Um, and we were raised really eating healthy food. And I've always had a passion for health too. So it's not like I would ever order pizza for myself because I was feeling sad, or I would never go through a drive-through and get a whole bunch of fast food, or go to a grocery store and get a whole thing of ice cream. And I'm saying those things specifically because I've talked to people and have associated with people, and some of my health coaching clients, we've kind of talked about that. I'm saying that because I know that's how it's been for other people. For me, it was definitely triggered by social experiences. We had a lot of family parties growing up. I don't know if you remember, there was always a reason to get together and celebrate, and there was always a lot of food. And so those social situations are often what drove me to overeat. And it wouldn't always be in front of people. I would maybe sometimes wait until the party was over and would try to do it when no one was watching. And so I don't think I walked into the party thinking, I'm a failure, I'm not enough, I'm just going to go and eat a whole bunch of food. I think somehow those thoughts just slowly creep in that food helps numb the pain. And so I would eat whatever was there. Like I said, I was never one to go and just buy all this stuff. But I would sometimes use making desserts and things like that at home as an excuse to feel like I could maybe eat all that later. Um, I don't even know. Maybe some people that watch this will realize, oh, yeah, I remember a time when you did this or whatever. But really, I think for me, that looking back, it was really more of a kind of I felt like it was a
Yeah.
secretive thing. And just feeling like I couldn't stop. I would eat until I got sick. I never A couple of times in high school I tried to throw up, but I think kind of maybe it's a blessing in disguise that that's something I am not able to do. Even when I get the flu, I don't throw up. So I've never used that as a way to help or get rid of all the food that I had eaten. I would just feel sick for probably a couple days.
Couple more questions, and thanks for kind of, rolling up your sleeves and getting into this with me. You said multiple times eating to cover up the pain. Now, prior, we've mentioned that part of the pain that came from the idea of being not enough was kind of exhaustion and hopelessness. I want to just be sure, like, is that what we're talking about when you say cover up the pain, or could that pain be referring to something else in the way that you use it so clearly? Like, definitely, I was eating to cover up the pain, and like, tell me more about that, even if it's a little redundant from what we've already talked about.
Well, I felt like those thoughts were always there, and I felt like there was always a voice in my head that I couldn't fight. And it's just now that I'm able to kind of do and say and act and feel how I really truly feel. It's never something I wanted to do. I always felt like there was that part, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to this from no matter what it is, drugs, alcohol. I mean, I don't know, there's so many different things, but for me with food, I felt like there was that voice inside of me that I really couldn't control. It was basically saying you need to eat all this food so you feel sick. Because then when I felt sick, that was validating that was validating my pain. That was validating the statements that I was not enough, that I wasn't perfect, that I wasn't good enough. So the food just became this, and getting sick just became this validation process for that internal struggle. Does that make sense?
It does, and it's hard to hear. As much as I
Sorry.
love you, as much as I love you, and obviously I don't want my sister to be having experiences where you are creating that type of experience for yourself, so that voice inside your head can be right. Um, Although that's kind of what a lot of us find ourselves doing pretty often. A couple more questions. What would be the consequence? So you ate until you felt ill, and then what? What thoughts come online? What feelings come online after an episode like that?
Just all those things. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid. I was going to do better this time. Oh well, this kind of just proves, like just what I said, that I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. My body will never look how I want. I'll never feel truly how I want. And the hardest part about that is people would look at me and be like, "You're so awesome. Look at all the cool things you do. You have so many things to be grateful for," whatever. Or would give me a specific compliment about a specific thing, maybe when I played my harp, or I would get, these really nice notes in the mail, thanks for doing this, or volunteering your time. And even from my husband, from the time we met, you're beautiful or whatever. And I was never, or rarely, I shouldn't say never, I was rarely able to take those compliments for really what they were, which is sad, really sad, because I didn't feel deserving of them. So,
How do you see this showing up in your life today?
meaning,
Well, we're I think we're all, and I'll just take myself and you because we're the ones on this call right now. I think we are both on our path of healing and growth and evolution and personal expansion, and yet still these issues still might have some type of kind of presence still in our experience. And so, what you feel like kind of started around 12 and led to this internal kind of accusatory dialogue of you're not enough, which led into internal feelings and sensations of exhaustion and hopelessness, which led toward behaviors such as binge eating, which led towards behaviors such as excessive exercise to compensate. Like how does that whole package show up still present in your life today, if at all?
I'm obviously still dealing with things. I have used a lot of modes of healing, traditional, non-traditional, more, natural Western medicine, some more holistic approaches, traditional counseling, non-traditional counseling. I mean, I really 4 years ago when we left San Diego and we moved to Utah, I kind of just had some amazing people. I feel like kind of fall in my lap. So I had a lot of different modes of healing, even down to getting some help with allergies. And I've dealt with adrenal fatigue. And when we moved here 4 years ago, my ferritin level was basically almost to zero. And so I had to have iron transfusions. I mean, so I've just done so many things. I've read a lot of books. I've talked to a lot of people. And do I still deal with it now? Oh, yeah, definitely. I still feel like some days I feel defeated, but I have so many more good days than I've ever had now where I am basically, and we can get into what the specific things I've done maybe another time because there's just so much as far as healing goes.
Yep.
But I can now say that where I am right now feels amazing. Is it exactly where I want to be? No, but that's where the phrase comes in, you are enough. Because if I don't think I'm enough today, I won't think I'm enough when I get to that place that I think is going to be enough. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we have this place or this idea or amount of money or a body fat percentage or whatever,
Yeah.
that we think that's where we're going to be happy. That's going to be enough to keep us happy and satisfied. But really, we have to learn that us as a person is enough every day. And if we can honor that and validate that and be so grateful, even for the days that really suck, then we are still moving forward. We can still find happiness and be excited about life at the end of a really terrible day. And I still have those, definitely.
So you tell yourself and you feel inside of yourself, I am enough. And you really allow yourself to feel that before a meal. How does that change your relationship to the meal?
Well, right now I'm working with an amazing nutrition coach. She's helping me get ready for this triathlon that I'm doing, and I'm really learning that every food has a purpose. Every color, different types of foods, seeds, nuts, protein sources, vegetables, fruit, grains, kind of has a purpose, a place, a time. And I'm really learning how to give my body the proper fuel it needs to be healthy, to be happy, to have my hormones balanced so I'm not having the highs and lows of sugar crashes because, when your insulin's going crazy. It also helps me balance out my cortisol. So when I get stressed, with all the adrenal fatigue stuff, really trying to stay at a constant. So I'm learning now that certain foods really help my blood sugar. Help me when I feel anxious, help me when I feel sad, when I feel depressed, when I start to feel that coming on. So I can now use food really as a gift for my body and not as a punishment for thinking I'm not something or I'm not a certain person. So that's the real transformation.
Now, you say, I am enough, and you really feel that on the front end of spending time with your husband. How does that change your relationship to your husband when you start an experience really knowing and believing that you're enough?
Well, as I've kind of made this journey, it's kind of been his journey too. So I shouldn't say it's my journey. It's kind of been our journey. It allows me to open up. It allows me to share part of myself with him, to share those feelings that have been buried for so long, to feel okay and not feel judged. Because I don't think David has ever judged me that way. He's always wanted the best for me and always wanted me to be happy, truly happy, not just that outside happy that everybody thought I've been this whole last 20 years or whatever. So it allows me to be in the moment with him. It allows me to laugh, to cry, to talk about hard things and know that it's okay not to feel like I have to be a certain way. I can truly be myself. And that's amazing.
So you say, I am enough, and you feel I am enough on the front end of spending time with your kids. How does that change or improve or alter your relationship with your children?
It allows me to realize that I am a good enough mom for these amazing four children that I have. It helps me be present with them. It helps me realize I don't need to be doing anything else at that moment when they need me. That Facebook can wait, Instagram can wait, Ironman training can wait, cleaning my house can wait. Because really, when it comes down to it, they are kind of the reason I exist right now. David and I chose to bring them into the world, and it is our responsibility to educate them, to raise them, to help them feel completely loved, and to help them know that they are enough too. So I guess it just authenticates everything when I can say and feel like I am enough.
So you say to yourself, I am enough, and you feel I am enough, and then you get down to pray at the end of the day. How does that, for you, change the way in which you can communicate to your Creator and feel a connection to the divine?
Because I think when I have days where I feel like I'm not enough, because sometimes those, I told you those thoughts still come in, I'm still working on that. I feel pulled away from everybody and everything I love, including my relationship with God. And so when I can feel like I'm enough, it helps me actually communicate better with Him and be able to thank Him for things and to ask for things that I really need that I feel will help me be a better mom, a better wife, a better person. And so when I feel sad, actually, maybe some people would say that's when you should get on your knees, but that totally withdraws me. So at the end of the day, if I can tell myself that, then I can definitely feel like I can have better communication with Him.
So pretty distinct comparisons between your relationship to food, your husband, your children, and God. If you're coming from the I am not enough, exhausted, hopeless place, versus coming from the I am enough, empowered, self-love place.
Totally.
What do you feel like you can do to continue to cultivate that new sense of identity, that new sense of reality of being enough, feeling enough, recognizing that you are enough, allowing yourself to give yourself the gift and the surrender and the relaxation of just owning that you are enough as you are? Like how can you cultivate that more and more every day?
That's kind of a long answer. I think there's a lot of things. For me, it's continuing working with all the people in my life that have helped change it and improve it. Sticking with my amazing doctor, continuing getting my labs done. These are the physical things, realizing that I'm taking care of my body, that all my numbers are improved, that my adrenals are doing awesome, so that's kind of the physical stuff. Continuing to work with my nutrition coach to find that I still need that accountability every day. And so I give that to Elizabeth. She lives in San Francisco, so it's not something I report to in person, but I have to report every day. So that is a big part that helps me stay focused. Planning and doing fun things with David. We have a date night every week. Getting a babysitter and spending time away from the kids and just with him is super important. So we make an effort to do that, and that helps me realize I'm enough, because when I am just with him, he reminds me of that. And I love that time with him. And doing fun things with our kids and planning activities, helping them explore, learn about the state that they live in, finding things to help them feel happy and that help empower them, but also to have time that we can just sit and be quiet. And I look forward to that time too. And I also need time for myself. That's a big one. I need time where I can just, run a couple errands, or I can go running or whatever. So a lot of mornings I get up at 4:30 so that I can get my training done and kind of be ready for the day before my kids get up. And that is a sacrifice. But that helps me be a better mom. And I'm, doing an Ironman in a couple weeks. That's a crazy goal. So for me, it's setting goals, attaining them, but also having moments where I can just sit and be comfortable with the silence.
So if I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm not enough, and I feel like I've been struggling with that for a long time, or if there's someone else who's watching this video at some point thinking the same thing of, hey, I actually really resonate with what Leanne is saying. I also feel like I'm not enough, and maybe it showed up in eating disorders, maybe it showed up in other ways, but I feel like it's been plaguing me for a long time, and I've resulted in the same exhaustion, hopelessness, and suffering. What advice do you have for me or someone like me in that regard?
The biggest thing that's helped me is to reach out and find someone that you can trust, that you can share some of your feelings with. It doesn't have to be a counselor. It doesn't have to be someone in the profession of, like a psychologist or something. It just means finding someone that you trust to open up, because that is the very first step, is being able to take those feelings that you've never shared with anybody and say them out loud. That's the biggest, that's the first step. You already know you feel them.
Uh-huh.
Saying them out loud and feeling them are two completely different things, though.
Yeah.
So that's the first way. And second, I'm kind of putting this out there so that I want to be able to kind of be a resource for people. I'm a health coach now. I help people on a regular basis deal with their goals. I'm hoping to be, to get certified later this year as a nutrition coach. But as far as those things, feeling like I want to be able to help people in whatever capacity I can. And all I can do right now is really just share how I've been able to make my transformation, and I can give you all the tools that I have used, but for everybody, the order, the timing, whatever, it's all going to be a little different.
How does it feel for you to think about supporting other people and overcoming some of the same challenges that you're overcoming, and starting to kind of steer the cruise ship of those thoughts and the emotions in the other direction of I am enough and I feel enough? Like, how does that feel on your side to see yourself as an empowering agent and really supporting people in that transformation?
It feels amazing. It feels like, the more people that I can help makes me feel like all those years of that internal pain and suffering, it makes everything worth it. And that's kind of why I decided it's time to kind of share my story a little bit, which we've just kind of, covered the basics today. But really feel like I'm putting this out there so that I can help others be brave, feel brave. It kind of goes along with that Sarah Bareilles song, which is called Brave. And she says in that, say what you want to say. And that, it sounds cheesy, but it was really when I heard that song for the first time that I realized we all have something we need to say, something we need to share. So many of us though don't know how we can. So that's kind of it. Feel brave. Feel like you can say what you need to say to somebody else. Find someone, like I said, that you trust, and start there. And then I'm here ready to kind of see where this goes.
You are enough, huh?
You are enough,
You
and
are enough.
you always have been.
I'm enough, and I always have been.
Yes,
And you're enough, and you always have been.
yes.
How do those words feel? You are enough. How's that feel in your body?
It feels amazing because once you realize that, it's kind of just opened these amazing doors for me. And kind of some of the goals I've set for myself, like this Ironman coming up, I never thought I could do something like that because I didn't think that I was enough, that I could do something like that. Yeah, we're not talking about placing in an age group or anything like that. We're talking about finishing a 140.6-mile race. And if you would have told me I could have done that when we just even moved here, once I met some Iron Men athletes, some men and women, I said, "You're crazy. Can't ever do that." And now I'm going to do it because I know I can. I can actually do anything I want to. So,
You are enough. Can I hear you say it?
to you or to me?
To me, to whoever's watching, to you, to the world.
Well, I know that I am enough, even the days that I still struggle because I do, and I want people to know that because that's real. That is really me telling you that some days I just want to give up. Some days still feel too hard. But I can somehow find that phrase by the end of the day and tell myself I am enough. And it gets me excited about tomorrow. So I am enough. You are enough, Corey. Everybody is. We just need to help people realize that now.
Thank you, Leanna, for taking the time to share your story and tell your story for you, for me, for the world. I think the whole world gets a little bit better every time somebody has the courage to tell their story.
Yeah,
And
well, this was just like I said, a little excerpt.
oh, I'm enough. I'm enough. All this time. Who knew?
When are you making me a t-shirt?
I am enough. You are enough. I feel like that's a pretty darn good mantra and a pretty darn good way to live our lives. And if we've got to be repeating something to ourselves all day long anyways, you are enough seems like a lot more fun life to live than you are not enough. just
Yep, it
take
is.
just take out the knot and you're so close all along.
The problem is we all have those knots. Most of us, I shouldn't say all, most of us have some sort of phrase that has a knot in it. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what I feel like I want to do is help people take that out. So you're right. We do want to take that out. And everyone's going to do that differently. So, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
Totally, it's okay.
Can we get a couple more you are enough just to wrap us up? You you are enough.
You are enough, Corey. Even with all the crazy things you do, I am enough.
You are so
My
enough.
family's enough.
You're enough just how you are, just how you look, just how you weigh, just how you feel, just how you think. You're enough.
Even when you sit and feel so alone and feel like you're incapable of making any change, even when you disappoint yourself, when you feel defeated, when you feel overcome by the world, you are still enough. So that's all I know.
Thank you, Leanna. Onward and
Thank,
upward.
thank you. Love you, bro.
Love you too. Talk soon.
Okay, bye.